Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Disc Golf Examiner. Today, we are in Canton, Ohio at the 2019 Pioneer Open. I'm joined today by Tyler Schrock, the TD for the event. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm good, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And we're out here at Malone University in Canton, Ohio. This is a course that you designed, is that correct?
Well, I've helped maintain it, so this predates me a little bit, actually.
Okay.
My disc golfing days started soon before this course was put in the ground in 2011. For the last few years, I've helped take care of it. You'll see some of the new construction that's going on. I've moved around some holes and kind of kept things going, and some of the temporary holes today I helped put together for the event.
Well, it looks like a fantastic time. It looked like a really nice course design out there and very interesting. So I'm really excited to get into this course coverage today at the 2019 Pioneer Open. And we want to say a very special thank you to Malone University Disc Sports for sponsoring the event, for sure, having us out there.
Yeah, Malone has started to put some more resources towards disc golf. Obviously, this new athletic complex is starting to shape up, and I've been told that disc golf is going to be a part of that. So wow. I thank them for their support. They have a club disc golf program and a club ultimate frisbee program that I work with on campus at Malone. And additionally, MVP, they sponsor me as a player, but they also sponsor this event as well. So both of those have been kind of our two main sponsors for the event, as well as some local shops. Let's see, Quonset Hut, our local Play It Again Sports, John's Grill, all have stepped up and have done a lot of fun stuff for our raffle and make this event possible. So lots of people to thank. It's a fun C-tier local event, mostly aimed towards our amateur players. But we do have a good pro field here today too.
And it looked like everybody had a lot of fun out there. It was about 63 degrees, pretty windy throughout most of the event.
Yeah, your first time out here, I'm guessing. It was somewhat mild, but yeah, we had probably 20-mile-an-hour winds, give or take, the whole day.
So here's our lead card. We have the MPO division here. We have Tyler Schrock in the lead with 75 strokes, followed by Nick Schultz with 77. We have Justin Worrell at 78, Matt Rosier at 83, and Dan Kilgore at 87. So,
right. Yeah. So we've completed 26 holes so far. So we've done 2 laps of the 13-hole course, and this is our final kind of our late round in the afternoon here. So this round is a little bit calmer than some of the others, but I was kicking us off here as the TD and playing, so serving double duty today.
Yeah, you were a little busy. So tell me a little bit about this hole 4, and it is a par 4. It is a unique hole to start off on.
Yeah, so this is one of the temporary holes. We're actually starting on the temporary stretch here. It is 440 and it's a bit uphill. It's probably about 380 or so of power to clear that fence. That fence is about the only one out here that is inbounds on both sides. It just kind of serves as a barrier. So I was just throwing a safe hyzer with the trace to get up there. Nick has all the power. I believe he even goes long on his drive there. Justin stepping up. He's going to be throwing a stable driver, and yeah, no surprise, he has plenty of power to clear it as well.
Absolutely. And I was actually shocked to see somebody clear the fence completely during one of the rounds.
Yeah, we had a pretty favorable wind for it. It's a tailwind coming almost directly straight from our backs, helping carry the disc pretty far. Rosier's throwing a bit safer shot way out to the left. That's not a bad play at all.
And Dan up on the box here.
Yeah, Dan is
a lefty.
Yes, Dan's a local Pro Masters player, and he's a lefty. He's throwing sidewinders almost the whole day, even through all the wind. He's throwing kind of a safe shot out to the side, but he has set himself up in a pretty open shot to throw a hyzer here over the fence in the second shot. I'm guessing most of the amateur divisions were taking kind of a similar line over, just playing it to the left side and hyzering up over.
Yeah, obviously with that right side having that large brick wall as it slopes down, very important to play to that left side.
The left side is a lot more favorable.
And Rosier could just pitch it up and over real easy.
Exactly. Yeah, I tried to give this putt a go, but honestly, I was just happy to lay one safe and get a 3 to start the day. And here Justin's giving this putt a run, but also kind of landing close. This is a tough 2. There were definitely some 2s out there today on this hole, but it is one, as you might see here. This ground really skips and slides, and Nick Schultz gave it a run and ended up giving himself kind of a long comeback putt. He does have an aggressive spin putt, so you know he's going to give these a run anytime he gets a good look at the basket.
Oh, just a little low on that comeback.
Yeah, a tough start to the round. This ground up here is a little rough. It's not something we're used to putting on. But Dan's back here. He's going to try to pick up his 3, which for a longer hole for him, this would be a great 3 for him to pick up. He's a super solid putter. He's able to save that 3 for the birdie there on this hole. It's a bit of a soft par 4 to start with. Justin's able to do the same. And I believe I'll be stepping up here as well, and Nick will be up last. Unfortunately, tapping the 4, which feels like a loss of a stroke to the field. Yeah, so the first 2 holes that we're going to see here are both kind of soft par 4s, and then from there we'll get into a pretty long stretch of pretty reachable par 3s.
Matt with the birdie as well. It is a pretty close race there for second place now.
Yeah.
And they're not too far out from you at this point in hole 5, which is another par 4.
Yeah, so this one plays a bit downhill, and the basket's kind of up on a plateau. I reached for the same trace I threw in the last hole, and I let this one go. I think we can track it here pretty well. Yeah. I kind of keep the nose too far down, and it never really flexes back. So I'm pretty far out to the right. I got most of the distance, but I did not hit the line at all that I was hoping for. So I believe Justin's reaching for a G-Star Destroyer here. So he gets a nice turn, and I think we'll kind of see it. Yeah, it's kind of carrying off towards the right side of the screen, and it's coming back to a pretty decent spot. It just cut to the left part of the screen there. Rosier's reaching for a trespass. I think that's his go-to for distance. And again, we do have a little bit of a tailwind here, so it is possible to get somewhat close to this pin.
And Rosier's going to get a good, fortunate skip towards the basket.
Yeah, that's a great spot to be. Somewhere near the base of that hill, or even up on that hill a little bit is a great spot.
And being a lefty might be at a little bit of a disadvantage here.
Yeah, he can pull it pretty straight over the hill, and he's pretty much going to be expecting to, land somewhere down in the flat area and be looking up at the pin. So Nick has... Yeah, Nick has all the power to run this hole as well. He went long on the last hole, and this one he can definitely give a run to. I believe he's fading out a little bit early, and we'll see him kind of up on the left side. So almost basket high, but a bit left. So we're looking down at Dan, I think, up from on the ridge. So he has kind of a long upshot here, and he's putting a good move on this sidewinder to get up. So you'll see Dan throwing sidewinders off the tee, and even for 100-foot upshots, he just has a great feel for that disc. So I have a bit of distance to go. That orange disc that you'll see me reach for quite a bit is an Entropy. It's a disc I really trust. Cutting through the wind, and I can throw it hard, and it really just wants to stable out and not go very far. So kind of a security blanket for me on a lot of holes. So I let this one go. I do leave it just a little bit short, but I probably have about 20 feet left to the basket.
Well, Nick better hope that gets down. Yeah, okay, wow.
Yeah, just behind the basket, it does slope kind of severely down to that other field. So yeah, he's happy to just be tapping into 3 there. This is one that you want to have kind of a look at like Rosier does, but you also don't want to play any games with that hill on the backside. Sticking close to the basket's definitely the name of the game here.
Rosier almost nailed that one too, just a few, about a foot too low.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, Rosier's a few strokes back, and I think he would tell you the putter was kind of tough for him earlier in the day. You'll kind of see the wind here in some of these, in some of the grass and the plants here. We do have probably about 15-mile-an-hour wind at this point, so not crazy severe, but enough to kind of to make you think. So I was able to save my 3 there, and Dan's hoping to do the same from a kind of a similar spot, just to step up the hill from me.
Oh,
tough one.
I think he just lost his footing there.
Yeah, it is a pretty rocky and rough spot to be. So Nick does save his 3. And I believe we'll see it. Yeah, both Justin and Rosier will be tapping in, and Dan as well. So after those first 2 temp holes, we're in kind of my favorite stretch of the course. We used this 2 years ago, so we'll have just some more park style golf here. There is a little bit of a drop off down the right side, but this hole is just about 330 and downhill, and it's really just about playing the wind. So again, we're going the same direction as the first 2 holes, so this is another kind of 15, maybe 20 mile an hour tailwind. And I'm pulling out a fireball and trying to swing it pretty wide from right to left. And out of my hand, it just didn't really carry very far, and I ended up coming up short, just kind of on the edge of the tall grass, somewhat near the basket.
And Matt, I think, is throwing a defender here.
Yeah, something pretty similar, a bit more stable. And he actually found himself kind of almost behind the building, so he'll have an interesting look kind of back at the basket. I don't think he's obstructed, but it is kind of a little bit of a side slope going far. So Nick here actually kind of showing his power. He's reaching for an ESP zone. So he's able to put a zone all the way down to the basket here and actually going nearly as far as Rosier did with an overstable distance driver. Justin preferring the straight line here. I believe he's throwing a G-Star V-Rock, which is kind of a straight shooter mid. And he puts a good move on that and puts it right up near the building. That's actually a great spot to be. And Dan on this tee shot, you'll probably be able to hear it on audio. He gave this one a big pull and got a lot of good drift on this shot and carried pretty far down there. He's not necessarily known for power. He's a very scrappy player, but he did give himself a look at this basket. So we'll have to see what he can do with the putt.
Like so Matt's going to get some relief there.
Yeah, there is an OB line there just to keep people from going way over the building on Heiser. So he's going to have kind of a long look here and just doesn't connect. He's facing a headwind there coming from that direction.
And that looked like a harp to me. So he's definitely putting with something very overstable.
Right. I think he was putting harps into the headwind and his normal swan twos into a tailwind. So this putt felt great out of my hand, but I think I just had a little too much on it. And I actually ended up going out to about 25 feet. And that's the Nick I'm used to seeing, smashing kind of that spin putt into a headwind. So Dan's up. He's at about the edge of the circle, and he gives us a run. That's a big birdie for him. After the 2 long holes, he played both of those pretty well and picked up a birdie here. Justin too. Also is able to clean up. Yeah, he did a great job on that hole, throwing a mid, making it stick. So I cleaned up a par. That's definitely a hole that I want to be getting a 2 on, but was able to save a 3 after not getting my jump putt to stick. So Rosier's here at about 20, 25 feet. And sticks that. I believe that's with his swan too. So he was kind of switching back and forth. All right, so this is our next temp hole. This is hole 7. It plays about 315. I expected to see some more forehands on this hole, playing to the wide open left side. Yeah. But a lot of people are trying to beat that low ceiling. I'm not sure what you saw out shooting photos earlier, but almost anybody I saw throw this hole was throwing the backhand line, even trying to beat that low ceiling.
Yeah, I did see a few sidearms. I was told by a sidearm player actually that he was able to birdie this hole with one. So I would think that the sidearm would play very well for this. And lefty too here with Dan.
Right. Wow. So Dan puts another great move on a hole. Again, this is probably about his max distance range, and he appears to put it in a great spot. So I'm stepping to the tee. Let's see. I grabbed a volt here. And really was looking just at a low line, trying to even put it a little bit short of the basket. And out of my hand, I thought this was great, but I think we had a bit of a left to right, and it just pushed me fairly far over to the right. So there is a bit of a ridge over there. So I misread it just a touch on that throw. Rosier's trying to get up the middle again, and it's just tough to beat that ceiling. You see a lot of shots do that, kind of getting knocked down in that kind of 40, 50-foot range under those trees.
You know, Matt's going to run it. Matt's never had a putt that he hasn't ran hard.
Yeah.
Yep. There he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he was a bit outside of his comfort range there, I'm sure. Justin's a very good putter as well. Fun fact, Justin's actually the course record holder for our league layout. He shot 17 down over 18 holes.
Wow.
So I've gotten within a few strokes of that, but I've never been able to duplicate it. So, so I'm here at about 30 feet, kind of awkward footing. I guess just outside of the circle. Gave it a run, but stuck it close. This is a putt that Nick wants. He's 2 strokes back of me, and he has this aggressive spin putt, and I've heard him say he loves uphill looks. And I think he catches just the outside of the chains there and is not able to
just on the right side.
So Dan here, he has about maybe 15 feet left.
Wow.
So he has actually started, I believe this would be his 3rd birdie in a row, actually 4th birdie in a row. So he's had a great start to this round. So Nick's able to clean up his par. The rest of us are just going to be tapping in our pars. So Dan actually got a solo 2 on that hole. So that's a great one for him to pick up. So he's actually finding his way, getting close to Rosier in a fight for 4th. So we'll have to kind of see those two, how they are comparing as these go.
So hole 8's another par 4. It's 500 feet. Tell me about this hole. This is a really interesting hole on this course.
Right. So you'll see Dan kind of trying to punch out the gap. He leaves it a little bit low there. It's a low ceiling right off the tee, but the safe zone is really off to the left. So you'll kind of see that brick building poking out to the left side. That's really where you want to be. Nick just beats that gap and actually finishes in a pretty good spot. So this is probably the first true par 4 out here on the course. I had played a shorter version of this 2 years ago for an event, and was really looking to kind of stretch it out and try to find a good challenging hole that would challenge your tee shot a little bit. In the previous 2 rounds, I kind of put it, we were facing a stronger headwind, and I kind of got caught up in that ceiling. So this time I was trying to really compensate, put it nice and low, and try to kind of shoot straight at that building and put it in a good spot. So the hole kind of plays a soft left to right. I was pulling on a trace here and trying to get it to flip up.
Wow.
And I was able to get pretty much my ideal throw on this hole. So I'm up and over the hill and really don't have a ton of distance left. It should be a pretty simple upshot.
I know Rosier's probably thrown his Renegade here as a roller, and it is getting up there.
Right. All 3 rounds he pulled out the roller here on this hole, and it worked really well for him. He got it down really quickly, and it just rode kind of the right side gap. So Dan unfortunately got knocked down early, so he has pretty much a full power shot. He's throwing once again a sidewinder flex to get himself kind of up towards the basket. And Justin here stepping up. I believe this is his Mako 3, and into the headwind, it's kind of getting pushed right. So you can just kind of see the basket in your frame. He finishes maybe 35, 40 feet right, kind of a little bit blocked. So Nick's drive came to a good spot. So he just has a simple hyzer to get up to the pin. And I believe, so I'm maybe a couple steps in front of him. I saw what Nick did and was pretty much going to try to draw up the same thing. But standing over this shot, I think I overthought it a little bit and ended up hardly putting anything on it. So I still left myself maybe 30, 35 feet left to the pin. You can see where Rosier's roller worked out. He gave himself not much distance, and I think he faded out a bit on his upshot, a bit more than
actually,
before.
I think he may have hit that tree in front of him whenever he threw.
It's something
grazed it.
Something took him to the left side. So Dan's actually got a sidewinder lined up here, and he's going to give this actually a pretty spirited run from where he's at. He just flashes right behind the basket, so he'll have a pretty short putt to get his 4. So I was trying to get a feel on this. Also knowing that Nick was parked, I really wanted to pick up my birdie here to can the 3. But this range had kind of been tough for me all day without having much of a warm-up with running the tournament. Putts weren't really following or feeling too well, so I ended up leaving this one short. I was pretty disappointed, as you'll probably see when I tap out. So Justin's got an obstructed look and flashes kind of across the basket. And Rosier's got one lined up here to save his birdie 3.
Oh, no.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Mach 3 just wouldn't stick that time. He had shots like that all day where he was catching a lot of chains. All right, so Nick's able to get his birdie. Yeah, that's a good birdie. That's one of the tougher holes to get. And I tap out quick. I'm a bit frustrated at that point, just trying to get through the hole.
That brings it to a 1-stroke lead for you there.
It does, yeah. So Dan's able to clean up, and I think we'll see some tap-ins here from Justin and Rosier left. So at this point, I did not know the score, but I knew that I had kind of left a couple strokes out there in the last 2 holes. So I was getting to a point where I wanted to kind of get a little more comfortable and make sure that Nick wasn't going to gain anything else on me, because I've played a decent amount with him in the past, but I know the skills that he has, especially with that putter.
And hole 9 here is 190 feet. It is a really tough hole, though. It looks like Nick is actually able to find the inbounds from the OB there, but the basket is in a really tough position, surrounded by OB.
Yeah, so it's almost like I would say maybe a 30 by 30 by 30 triangle of grass. So you'll see Dan, actually, he's on the little narrow corner, and he skips over the corner out of bounds. So he'll be going to the drop zone. So the basket is on kind of that little triangle, and then it's connected to this little circle where you probably saw Nick's shot land. So Justin's going with the more classic route here, kind of going big hyzer, but he comes up just short and catches the curb and lands OB, so he'll also be going to the drop zone. So my shot here, I'm actually throwing a resistor so that it will kind of skip and spike, and I'm aiming pretty wide right at that green tree and trying to come across low through those darker trees. And I ended up getting slowed down just at the right spot. Yeah, I was very happy with that. So Rosier's lining up the skip shot, and I think he just ends up quite a bit inside of where he was looking for. So he's also going to be going to the drop zone. This hole did see a fair number of birdies, but you can definitely pick up a 4 or 5 in a hurry if you're not careful. The OB is pretty close right behind the basket. You can sort of see the triangular shape now as Dan's lining up his drop zone shot.
And you can tell how high up we are now with the background there. You can see that there is wind coming across. And Matt's going to line up his putt here. You know, he's always running it. And wow!
Yeah, that's a big one. So that's probably 45 feet with some wind coming right to left and OB right behind the basket.
Wow. We got to watch that again, I think. We'll do it in slow-mo this time with an examination. Great.
Yeah. That's a great shot, and that's where you want to hit on those Mach 3s, just a little bit pro side and drop it nice and soft. That's a great pickup and a great 3 save on a tough hole. So you'll see Nick, he's in kind of that circular area that's kind of the bonus area of the island. He is maybe at about 28 feet, but with his putt, this is one that he's definitely running hard. And again, just you saw it with Rosier on the last hole, just not really wanting to stick in that Mach 3. Unless it's in the middle or slightly on that pro side, it doesn't want to stick those putts. So thankfully, all I had left was about maybe 8 or 10 feet here to save this one. Definitely was happy to have kind of a short look on this hole and not have to worry much about the OB on the putt.
That was probably the best drive that I saw that during the tournament for this hole.
Yeah, thank you. I think in seeing it played, I think the best line is to keep it low and let those trees kind of slow it down. Any other shots can get a little bit scary with any of the skips or kicks that kind of comes through. So I stretch my lead back to 2, which doesn't feel super comfortable yet. But the hole we're coming to now is 200 feet downhill, and it's a bit technical. So this one kind of drops off and finishes to the left.
And you do have that OB behind the basket at the bottom of the hill. So.
Yeah, so you will see, I think, when we get to the shot, or when we see these drives by the basket, Nick's pulling out a zone here. It's really best if you're throwing kind of a low sweeping hyzer, just like what you're going to see Nick throw. Any hyzers that land high or hot will kind of skip their way down the hill and often land OB.
I know Matt's throwing a suspect here, and it's a beautiful shot right down to where you want to be.
Yeah, it's kind of pick your overstable shot of choice here.
Yeah.
Dan coming from the lefty line, he made this shot look easy in the earlier round. He's pulling out, I believe, another sidewinder and actually swings this one just too wide. And he actually lands OB in that fence there. So he's going to be throwing from behind the fence with a tough second shot. Justin has thrown this shot quite a few times in league and puts a pretty good move on this one. Yeah, anything that's moving left just in front of that pine is in a great spot. So Dan actually still has maybe 100 feet left and has to make it over this barbed wire fence. So he took his 2 meters of relief here and actually kind of is lining up an overhand to try to stick, which I'll tell you is it's tough to get anything to stick on that green. It's pretty hard and pretty sloped.
Oh, so it looks like he got up and over the OB, so he should have a putt.
He actually got to about 20 or 25 feet, so not a bad spot
great.
at all. So you'll see the trees moving here. I'm looking at maybe 18 to 20 feet straight headwind, and I was just convincing myself, okay, just keep this nose down, keep this nose down. And as soon as I let it go, I was worried about that OB. So actually hitting the number plate was a little bit of a blessing there because it was not headed anywhere good at all. Unfortunately, that was probably the shortest look that I missed on the day and a tough one to give up again.
Oh, Dan's going to be right above it, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dan wasn't able to save that one. But Nick, that's maybe the farthest he was from this basket all day. He had a great move with that zone. And Justin pretty similar with, I believe, a rock 3.
Mm-hmm.
So they both made easy work of it, and I think we'll see Rosier did as well.
Yeah.
So if you can keep that hyzer nice and low, it'll tend to nestle up pretty well.
And Dan, I think, because of the height difference here, he's going to go to a kneeling putt, and I'll take that for a double bogey, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dan's putting on a bit of a show. You'll see him early there. He's making some big drives, and he makes some interesting approaches and putts as we continue to play.
So hole 11 is a par 3 again. It's up and over this hill about 245 feet, and Nick's going to have a great shot up there. It might be a little long of the basket.
Yeah.
But
so now we're going to be facing a right to left wind. So any shots that are starting to hyzer are probably getting pushed over a little bit more than the players are wanting. Sometimes I throw a neutral putter at this, but in this wind, like a lot of these players are, I kind of was forced to push that hyzer a little bit farther right and throw something a little bit more stable. So we saw pretty good drives already. So I was kind of trying to follow them pretty well as best I could. I grabbed that orange entropy again, and I was actually pushing it just a little bit wider than they were, hoping that it was going to swing back. I thought I might have left it a little bit short, but I was pretty happy with where it went. So Dan, once again, reaching for a sidewinder, trying to match that hillside, but just leaves it a little low. That's a tough miss out here. But he's grabbing another sidewinder and is going to try to give the basket a run. He's not really one to lay up much. He's going to give things a run if he's able to at all. So you just see the basket peeking out there. So we are in a bit of a downslope.
Nick is probably a good 60 feet away downhill.
Yeah.
Maybe further.
It's probably 55, maybe 60 feet, looking uphill into a headwind.
Oh!
And I was on the opposite side of the basket, and I don't know how that one didn't stick. It was pro side, nice and flat, just bounced straight out. Just a really tough break for him.
Yeah.
So Rosier's maybe at about 40 feet, kind of looking down at it.
Great
he is able to stick that one, so that's a great birdie pickup. He's trying to get back in the mix here for the top spot, so he's only a few strokes back. So Dan, after his kind of aggressive second shot, he's given himself a tailwind putt here, and he's able to stick that one. Dan's typically a pretty solid putter, so not surprised at all when he's canning those.
And that's a great drive right there.
Right. Once again, I was very pleased to be able to stick the entropy close. I think I actually show it off to the camera here. It gets pulled out quite a bit, and especially in the wind, it's a great upshot disc. So Nick's tapping in. He's definitely not too happy after the basket. Really didn't do its job on that shot. And Justin also, you can tell, had a very close drive there as well.
Boy, that must have been a close run at an ace there. So hole 12 is mostly downhill. It looks like you got a lot of obstruction here around the basket.
Right. Yeah, we do also have a Mando on that sign there on the right that actually Rosier landed right beside. He caught an unfortunate branch and kicked down. So that just blocks the right-hand hyzer. So what we're going to see, we're facing a headwind here. It's slowed down a little bit, so maybe 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So I'm reaching for a fireball. We've seen pretty good shots here so far. I'm really just trying to keep the nose down and kind of let the wind lift it up and do most of the work for me. So I put a fireball maybe at 15 feet, and it bounced up to maybe about 8 or 9 feet. So Nick's got a Firebird here. He's got all the power, and he's actually giving this an ace run. And he honestly threw what I feel was a better shot than mine. And I think he caught a tree maybe a foot off the ground and got knocked down and rolled down the hill to maybe 40 feet.
Boy.
Just two tough breaks in a row. Dan's showing the lefty advantage here, throwing a nice hyzer up. He'll have maybe a tree to contend with, but it's really nothing compared to what Rosier's lined up against here. He's kind of got the teeth of the tunnel here to try to figure out. He's trying to get good footing. And I'll tell you from experience, this is a tough little gap to hit.
Just that was an amazing thread through there. Of course, you know,
yeah.
Rosier's used to tightly wooded courses, so of course he had a shot for that.
Yeah, no, he put a good move on that, and I thought he had a chance to actually catch some metal there. Nick, once again, so he's out from distance, maybe 40 or 45 feet, and catches the cage. So two tough breaks that cost him, each one of them cost him a stroke. So Dan's a bit blocked here, and he's reaching out for a forehand. That one doesn't work out. He actually cashed one earlier from a similar awkward spot, so I think he was kind of going back to that well. So Justin's kind of in the spot where you see a lot of shots go. If you catch something, you often end up about 30 feet. So Nick was just showing me there the tree that he thought he hit, and I definitely agree with him. He was kind of robbed there of a stroke. So thankfully, again, I was able to tap in. So I get two birdies in a row there, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better that I'm able to actually pick up a few strokes. So getting to a stretch of the course where I'm hoping to ideally, I hope to pick up birdies on these next few holes and continue to kind of cement my lead here. So at this point was the first time I kind of looked at the scorecard and kind of knew where things were at. So this hole is hole 13, plays about 500 feet. It's uphill, and we are facing a bit of a headwind. This is kind of I would say probably the most challenging drive that we face on the course.
You definitely have all that OB in front of you and to your right, and you're playing right over top of it there. That's a fantastic shot.
Yeah, so I pulled a photon and got just a little bit of turn, which is exactly what I want. Finishing relatively straight is the easiest spot to both avoid the OB and give yourself a look on your second shot. So Rosier, I believe, I don't know what discus was. It did get pretty stable on him, and unfortunately it skipped all the way OB left across that concrete. So Justin, he's reaching for this same destroyer again. He puts a little bit lower move, but gets over on it.
Oh, wow.
And that's drifting pretty far right, but you'll see it flex, and that's actually to a really good landing zone.
Yeah, he'll be outside the OB there. So.
Yeah, so he beat those bleachers and ended up in a pretty good spot. Wow. So Nick is looking to put a big move on here. With just a few holes left. So he is going a little bit left to right and is trying to flex it. It actually is going to finish out of the screen to the right, but he did finish OB, but we might be able to see on the upshot just to see how close he actually got. He probably got at least 450 or 475 feet of power on that shot.
He was almost, I'd say that's correct.
Yeah. So Dan here has kind of a tough go to hit this landing zone. He actually puts a real good move on this. Once again, another sidewinder. Putting that to a good spot, safe, and probably about 300 to 315 up the fairway. So Rosier now, you'll kind of see where he's looking at. That fenced area is not OB. That's just another obstacle that actually popped up about 2 weeks ago here. Most players are forced to hyzer around it one way or the other. So Rosier kind of goes a little bit long down the right side, and Dan's attempting to go kind of the wide way around the left side. You'll kind of see him finish up here. So he'll have a look at the basket. So Justin's drive finished in this low spot, but he's left with a pretty simple, maybe 150, 170 feet uphill look at the basket. So
here we have Nick's OB shot where he landed here, which is very, he has a straight shot at that basket. I got to believe that he's going to want to go for it still.
Yeah, absolutely. His disc actually is over by that shed. So that shed is even with the basket. He just wasn't able to get it to flex back. So he's throwing the zone upshot here, and I believe he sticks it pretty close to the basket. So he'll be saving his par. So I was able to beat that parking lot by a little bit. So I might have gotten 375 or so, but I put myself in a fairly good position. So I step up first, I think, with the resistor. And I'm just trying to kind of feel out the wind. You kind of can see the tree branches on the right side. And I go back to the bag, and I'm going back to that entropy again. So I had trusted that pretty well through most of the round. So I was ready to toss it out again, and I actually got a nice little air bounce, and it hyzered right over by the pin. So I was pretty pleased with that shot to take the fence out of play and to once again kind of put it pretty close to the basket and take the pressure off the putt. So Dan's giving this a run. Once again, he's flashing the basket on almost every upshot. He's not leaving any strokes out there. So Rosier's left with kind of a tailwind putt here, and just low. He was frustrated. That's another one he wanted to pick up. He wants to get close to Justin as we're kind of rounding the bend. Justin with a good putt there, maybe 20, 25 feet. And Nick's going to be tapping in his par after going OB on his first drive.
So Dan will be dropping on as well.
Yeah, Dan does a great job of getting those up shots, giving them all a chance, but always finishing close to the basket. You rarely see him cost himself a stroke there. So I got maybe 10 or 12 feet. I'm at the point, too, where I'm taking my time and making sure all these putts stick, because I've seen so many bounce out, even in the last few holes. I want to make sure that all of them are in for sure.
So we're going to go ahead and move on to hole number 1. I'm going to move to the catch cam here, where it's a par 3. It's pretty much straight uphill for you guys, huh?
It is. Yep. There's just one utility pull here. And I think as you're pulling out, we might kind of see it. So I threw to the right of the utility pole, and I think you might have missed it in the camera shot. I somehow catch like the one patch of dirt and get a really fortuitous skip. So I ended up maybe 15 feet from the basket on drive that had no business getting close. Justin threw a good shot there. Absolutely. Yeah, a little bit of hometown love there. Justin threw a straight mid shot. And Nick here is throwing a putter shot. He's going pretty aggressive, trying to probably cash this one. That's a beat-up challenger, I believe, that he threw. He's maybe 20 feet wide of the basket. And Dan here is lining this up. He's trying to give us a full pull. And unfortunately, it looks like he has a little bit of an early release. And I believe I've seen enough Disc Golf Examiner coverage. This is called the bumble that he finds himself in down the right side. And he's going to have some tough going from over there. We'll see Rosier. He's playing the classic line around the pole and up, just nestled right under the basket. That's a good, safe run. So Dan will be the only one that's not up here putting. And as you can see, he's wearing a bright red shirt, has a long white beard, and there's no way to see him in there.
Yeah.
It is thick, and the gaps are very small to get out at all.
So I think he's going to find a gap, decent sized gap there. He's going to power through it. Yep, there he goes.
Yep, so he is able to punch out. So he gives himself maybe about 30 feet, but I don't envy the position he was in. So I'm guessing that's a pretty good look from where he was at. So Nick lines up a spin putt, and he's able to catch this. So he's had a couple tough breaks, but he's rolling with the punches and still picking up birdies on these holes. So
this will be for Dan's par.
Yeah. After being in a tough spot, even having a putt here has been some good scrambling. Just low there. Yeah, just a little low. So Justin, he's quietly made a good move here. So he, I believe, has moved within maybe a stroke or two of Nick here. So he's moved within one of Nick for second place. And if I'm able to cash this in here, I'm in a position where I'm pretty happy with just 2 holes to go.
Nice drop in there for Rosier.
Yeah, Rosier, I think Rosier gave it a good run and really gave himself very little work to do. So he might have played it the best of the group, but I definitely had the luckiest bounce of anyone.
So hole 2 is another par 3. It's 260 feet. Now it looks like it's right there, but there's kind of an optical illusion because you do have a hillside you're coming down.
Right. Yeah. So it's one where you're trying to land kind of on a downslope, and I either see people land 20 feet short or 40 feet long are kind of the common spots to be. I'm throwing an entropy once again, nice and wide, and just trying to get the distance about right and skip somewhere near the basket. I prefer to have a flat to slightly downhill putt instead of the long comeback. So I'm throwing entropy. Justin, I believe, is throwing another rock 3 again.
Oh, wow.
He gets a little bit of air under his, but that's not too bad of a spot. It's a little bit less scary to run the putt from that direction. So Nick, once again, he's grabbing the zone. This is what he does. He does really well at ranging these. I believe he just put a little bit too much on this, but we'll see what type of putt he has left. Rosier also is lining up a hyzer. This might be a justice or a verdict, some type of stable short-range disc.
And there's Dan showing off his special disc there.
Yeah.
For a young man who passed away.
Yeah, so Dan is a military veteran, and that disc is actually from another a young veteran that passed away. We run a tournament in his honor at Arboretum Park, which is just a few minutes down the road. So Jesse Booty, Dan always makes a point to support the military, support other veterans, and wanted to show off that disc in coverage. So he was putting with that for part of the day, and yeah, that's important to him.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see the danger there. So that higher part, it's easy to get quite a bit of carry away. The camera doesn't really do this justice. This is a pretty severe slope to try to be putting on.
Yeah, you really can't see it, but just past the basket, it is dropping off really quickly there. You'll see perhaps here in a moment, but Dan's looks like he's going for a kneeling putt.
Yeah,
and there's that hill.
A little bit of foretelling there. Yeah, but you'll see a lot of putts collect. Yeah, kind of in that. Somewhere.
And you can see Rosier here.
Right now.
Yeah, that's a big drop off. You just can't see it on camera.
Right. It's possible that his disc might have hit near the basket and even rolled its way down there. You'll see quite a few that, yeah. So Nick is also putting from down there as well. This is definitely one he wants to pick up to give himself a little bit of a cushion with Justin. But facing that headwind, he gets a little bit lifted. So we have some comeback putts left. This is a basket that definitely yields quite a few of those. So I was pleased to pick up my 2 and get out of there. But the rest of the card is trying to clean up. So unfortunately, Dan isn't able to clean up, so he's going to be taking a bogey on this hole. Justin, I was surprised to see him not capitalize there. He's pretty familiar with this basket after playing league quite a bit. So Justin actually takes a bogey and takes a little bit of the pressure off of Nick. So Nick does have 2 strokes going to the last hole. And Rosier's able to clean up, and Dan will as well.
So coming to the last hole, which is hole 1, it's another par 3. I really think that this is an interesting finishing hole.
Yes. I set up a little bit easier tee here to give kind of some of the lower divisions a little bit of an ace run. And to be honest, that's what I had in mind here too. I'd come up short on this hole the first 2 rounds. So in lining this up, I kind of picked a spot, picturesque Malone sign. I said, okay, I'm on film. Yeah. No time like the present. Let's give this a great run. So I let this go. And about partway there, I realized, oh man, I threw it to the exact same spot within 2 feet that I did the first 2 rounds. So although I was walking away with a fairly easy putt, I was frustrated not to give that one a better move. Nick just got over on that one a little bit. I believe he had a putter in his hand there. So Rosier's giving this one a look as well. It looks like he's just swung it just a little bit wide, but he'll have maybe a 25-footer. Dan's looking to finish his day with the birdie. He had a great stretch early and then fell off a little bit towards the middle. So once again, another sidewinder from Dan. Puts a good move on that. Yeah, once he gets those moving a little bit over to the left, he picks up quite a bit of his distance that way. Yeah, so at this point in the round, it's really a fight between Nick and Justin for second place. Justin does give it a bit of an ace run, but he's kind of up at the top of the hill there. So,
and you do have a bit of a hill there too. So I mean, somebody misses a putt. This could be
certainly, yeah. It's not quite as severe, but this hole does yield some rollaways. Yeah, great
Matt
pickup
finishing off with a great bird.
Great pickup by Rosier there. So Dan's going to give this one a look. You can kind of see the wind pushing a little bit, kind of a tailwind for him. So Nick will have a bit of a left to right putt here. He definitely wants this to save his spot. And thankfully, though, his putt sticks.
Yes.
So Justin will have this putt, and he's able to cash that. So Nick will just be tapping in. So he'll be holding on to second place, it looks like, by a stroke. I had actually missed a similar putt from this spot and had a bit of a rollaway to end my round in round 1. So I was taking my time here, trying to get this one lined up and make sure that there wasn't anything too crazy happening. and was pleased that it stuck, and I was able to head back up to Tournament Central and get some scores in.
Well, that's fantastic. You know, anytime you go back with first place, it's a happy day.
Right. Yeah, no. So tournament directing this event is always lots of fun. We'll see the last of the cards here tap out, but this event had 47 players this year, and 42 of them were AM players. So I love putting on these types of events to, in players' backyards. A lot of them attend league regularly and enjoyed putting on an event at Malone to kind of support disc sports there, and also to, make a great event for AMs. We had 500 added cash, and quite a bit of that went to the AM divisions as well. So always try to give back to them. And because of all the sponsorship we had, I'll try to list off those names again.
Please do.
Quonset Hut and a few of those other Quonset Hut, MVP, Malone, John's Bar, all very instrumental in making this event possible. So huge thanks to them. And thanks to all those folks that have watched this video as well. And Brian, thanks to you for coming out and filming.
Hey, it was our pleasure. It was so much fun. I know I have a lot of photos from the event. If you're interested in checking those out, check them out on our Disc Golf Examiner Facebook page. Also, I want to say, if you like this coverage, feel free to, we have a Patreon page. You can support us there. Also, if you ever see us out at events, we usually are selling beef jerky. So, great ways to support us if and when we're in your area. And, we had a lot of fun at this event. I'll tell you what, Tyler, you put on a really nice event. Actually, even afterwards, it was a lot of fun seeing like the raffles going on and stuff. Everybody had a lot of fun, it looked like.
I also want to thank the Northeast Ohio Disc Golf Association. Their summer series events include the Malone Pioneer Open and some other really fun B and C tier events throughout Northeast Ohio. They do a lot for the sport locally, and always like to give them a shout out. Their winter series gives back to local courses, and their summer series gives back to the players. So hope to see a lot of players out at local events, and maybe I'll have to see you in the Pittsburgh area here coming up soon.
Well, I'm definitely going to see you this weekend as we have the 2019 Ironwood Open that we'll be covering. So hopefully we'll catch you on the lead card there on the last day.
Awesome. Yep, that's the plan.
Right. Well, hey, I wish you luck, and just want to say a very special thank you to everybody who is listening. And until next time, guys, keep banging those chains.